And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it. And that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon Wright. Tonight we're going to be joined by my guest, Stephen. Stephen is a lifelong experiencer. He's also an author. He has written a book called Heroic Again. You can find that on Amazon. But Stephen reached out to me on Facebook a while back. Said he had a lot of experiences he'd like to come on here and talk about, so we got something scheduled. And if you would like to be a future guest on Tinfoil Tales, there's 2 things you can do. You can send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Whichever way you prefer, just make sure to reach out. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. If you would like to help the podcast out, please continue to share it around. Word of mouth is one of the best ways of getting the podcast out there to new listeners. So for everyone that's been out there doing that, just know that I appreciate you guys. You can also help out by leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to Tinfoil Tales at. You can also help out by joining the Patreon, become a foil fanatic. There's 2 different tiers. There's the free tier and the paid tier. Both tiers you get access to Crinkle Conspiracies, the podcast that's exclusively on the Patreon. With the paid tier, you get early access to all the episodes ad-free, up to 2 months early before they're released publicly. There's also live videos. It's worth checking out if you're interested. It's just $1.99 a month, so less than $2, and you get all that content. There's also a merch store available now, so if you're interested in some Tinfoil Tales wares, make sure to check out the show notes for that. Make sure to follow me on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, X. You can find me on Facebook as Brandon Tinfoil Tales. So I've been doing a lot of my scheduling lately, so if you'd like to reach out on there, you can do that too. But I think now we're going to go ahead and bring Stephen on. Looking forward to talking to him. I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'd like to take this time to welcome my guest tonight, Stephen. Thanks for coming on here and talking to me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brandon.
Do you want to let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. It's Stephen Slusher. I'm from Arizona. I grew up in Mesa, Arizona, and I lived there for a duration of my until when I was 30. So then I moved to Colorado. Lived in Colorado for a few years, and then I moved to New Mexico, my parents' place, and in New Mexico, in the Four Corners area. And before that, I had lived in Cholo, Arizona, too, for a couple of years. But my paranormal experiences started in Mesa when I was a kid. I was like 5 years old, and I went to the bathroom, and I saw in the window high up, it's about 7.5 feet high, not quite to 8 foot, but right below the ceiling, that I saw a witch looking at me, grinning. I just called her a witch. She had plenty features and a evil grin, and I just was so frightened. I just ran out and told my parents. So my dad went out and looked around, but he didn't see anything. We lived in a Mormon neighborhood. It was a new neighborhood, but it was on farmland, and there used to be Hohokam village. Indians used to live there hundreds of years ago because there was pottery all over the place on people's lots. And I heard chanting a few times at night, real guttural, low voice chanting, and we had every once in a while like something like a radio would click on, stuff like that. It's just little stuff, but I really didn't get my real experiences, well, big experiences, till later on, much later on. I lived in Fort Collins. I was in my early 40s. I was living with my sister at her house in the bedroom, and all of a sudden I started getting paranormal experiences. Like I was playing with my two nieces with the see and tell. It's a type of toy that you pull a string, and then a dial goes around to a different animal, and it makes that animal's noise. And I was pulling on it kind of rapidly. Then all of a sudden, they went to gruff voice, real gruff voice, couldn't make out the language. And my nieces were startled and say, "He's really angry at you," and stuff. And also around that time, I was watching the Mothman Prophecies on DVD, and in the morning, I went to put it from my DVD player into the casing, and when I opened it up, I had a ream of paper on the floor, and the ream of paper just flew up about 6 or 8 inches and came crashing down. And that was about it there. I was soon called to Cholo, Arizona. It's in the mountains of Arizona, eastern central Arizona, to work with my cousin's electric company. He was doing a job there. We were renovating a bank, and I lived in my mom's trailer. And this guy lived with me for a little while that worked with me too. Then he left. And then all of a sudden, and this is 2003. What I was talking about, Fort Collins, that happened in late 2002. But this is early 2003. In May was a concentration of paranormal experiences I had. One night, I was on my chair, easy chair, whatever, in the front room of the trailer, and I heard a high-pitched noise. And then all of a sudden, I started shaking from my extremities, and it went up to my body. I was shaking, and the chair was shaking, and felt like a trailer was shaking. Then all of a sudden, I heard a scream, a woman scream like she's being murdered. It lasted about 6, 7, 8 seconds or whatever. Then I was really frightened, and I stood up or whatever, and it stopped. But I didn't run out or anything. It was, thought that was very strange. And then a couple of days later, I went to bed. As soon as I got on the bed, I felt like pressure coming down on me. It was like some invisible force changing the air pressure. And then all of a sudden, I started quaking in my arms, my hands, my feet, and it went up my leg, it went up my arms, and then my whole body was shaking like I was a tuning fork, and the bed was shaking. And then I struggled to get up, but I stood up, and I was bouncing off the wall. I was so frightened. And I heard another screaming noise, a woman screaming. It lasted about, the same time, 6, 7, 8 seconds. And, there was lots of hauntings happening then. There was like knockings on the walls, and inside the walls and outside the walls. that would happen several nights. I wake up and get alarmed by this knocking, and smoke alarm would go off. And every once in a while, I heard a growling noise from high up near the ceiling, and then I heard shaking of a piece of metal, like it sounded like thunder, like a piece of sheet metal shaking, but it sounded like they make a noise like thunder. And and also we used to have this creature called the Mogollon monster, and we grew up. We heard stories about it, and Mogollon monster. It was. What do you know about Bigfoot? This was just a long time in the floor. There was a big ape man that hung around the Mogollon Rim in Arizona, and the Boy Scouts would always talk about in the campfires, tell stories about him. But anyway, in Sholo, I was right by the Mogollon Rim, and I heard tree knockings. I was in the forest. I would hear tree knockings real loud, and sometimes the branches would break. They were hit so hard, and I would hear screaming noises too, and knockings on the trailer that was different than the haunting knockings. And so I didn't see Bigfoot then. I just heard stuff that associated with Bigfoot there. And also, I had a cassette player in my Nissan pickup, and I had a tape that I made of a group in the '60s called Love, and the album was Forever Changes, and there's a song on it called "The Red Telephone." It's a strange song. It's a very good song, and anyway, at the end of it, there's a nursery rhyme. It goes, "Taking him away today, they're throwing away the key. Who will it be tomorrow? You or me?" And that would play. And every time I left the truck pickup to go inside my trailer, that was the last thing I heard. But no, I have to correct it. That was the first thing I heard when I got in my pickup from the trailer, because it would be on a different point on the tape when I left it. So somehow it managed to get on the tape with that nursery rhyme when I got in the pickup. And that happened several times. It kind of spooked me, and I finally just took the tape out after going. I checked the tape, and when I got out, it was in a place that wasn't on that song. But then when I got in, it was on the tape on the place where the song was. And I don't know how that happened, but anyway, all this stuff was happening, and I thought, I'm going to go to Safeway. I'll think of 5 numbers, and I'll play the Fantasy 5 game to see if any of those come up, see if this is in my mind or is it something really happening to me. Like, so I did. The computer picked the numbers. I had the numbers in my mind and written down, but I didn't play them. The computer picked the numbers just automatically. It's a quick pick. And the numbers were 9, 11, 12, 17, and 19. And all of a sudden, I got the ticket, and that was all 5 numbers were on it. And I was very surprised and perplexed. It was kind of felt a sense of wonder. Then I felt kind of a sense of awe and frightening that something could read my mind and manipulate a state computer, or it was that or my mind was making it. But I think it was something read my mind and manipulated the computer. That's what it seemed like to me. Or it was just coincidence. But it was a very high, I mean, a coincidence that would have been 1 in 300,000. So, and all this stuff was happening to me. So just kind of chalked it up as
I'm sorry. What did you say it was that generated the numbers?
the computer, the state computer, the machine, lotto
Okay.
machine.
So it generated a ticket with the winning numbers,
No, well,
or just the numbers you were thinking of?
well, I generated the numbers I was thinking of,
Okay.
but
If it generated the winning ticket, then that's pretty crazy.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool if I did
Yeah.
that. No, I didn't win. I was just testing to see if those 5 numbers would come up, and then they did.
Hmm.
And one night I was working, and I was putting up lights, fluorescent lights in the grid ceiling, and I was putting a electrical outlet whip up to an electric box, and all of a sudden I thought there's going to be a spark here, and there was, but it was a hallucination. I didn't. But the thing is, when that happened, the light right by me blew out, not blew up, blew out, and so that was kind of weird, and so then I was hiking one day. I did a lot of hiking there in Cholo, and I saw that it was raining someplace by a mountain, and I ran and went to my truck to go check it out. Because in Arizona, they're excited if it rains. That's unusual. So I went there, and I saw a sign, a road sign that said, there was a horizontal sign that said on it, printed 12-42. Now that was a very strange sign. And then I turned around and I looked for it. It wasn't there anymore. So I just chalked it up as being whatever. It wasn't. It was there when I saw it at first, and then it wasn't later on. I don't know what that meant either. And in a couple, 3 years from then, I went to Montana to visit a friend. He used to be my girlfriend, but we just remained friends. And in Whitefish, Montana, out in the forest. And one day she was at work, and I was vacuuming, and then all of a sudden, the house started shaking, and her knickknacks were falling off the shelves and stuff. And then all of a sudden, there's the noise in the attic right by me, sounded like a cross between a monkey and a bird, and it just made a racket. It went across the house, and then all of a sudden you heard a crashing noise, like a crash on the into the house, and I went over and saw the 2 posters fell down from the bedrooms. They had number 3 on them. There's 3 pyramids on one and 3 jazz musicians on one. And I was playing the lottery, and I thought, you got to play the number 3 Powerball, and I won $36. And so, and then a few years later in Montana, she moved to Kalispell, and I was the first night there. I stayed in the back bedroom, and I heard all sorts of voices, sounds like bells and rapping on the walls. In the morning, I told her we were up, and I said, your back bedroom's haunted. And then all of a sudden, the blinds started shaking real violently by me. And that night, I went to go to bed in the evening, and they had a CD player, and there's a CD in it, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust and the Fighters from Mars, and the CD player wasn't on, but I was thinking about a song on it, Moody Daydream. Then all of a sudden I heard that song playing. It's playing on the CD, exactly like I was thinking in my mind. And then that happened the next night on a different song. And then on a different album, I had a next night on a different album that I would think of a song and it would play. The CD would come on automatically before I got into the bedroom. And one Saturday, I went to the convenience market and I bought a lottery ticket, and I left my balls on the counter for some reason. I wasn't thinking. And then I realized it, and I went back and it wasn't there. Someone stole it. But they didn't know who. They didn't see anything, they said, and the surveillance camera didn't show anything because it was morning. It was just bright light from the morning light. Couldn't see anything. But I went home and I canceled my cards. And under my breath, I said, I wish I had the check that was in my wallet folded up. And then the next morning, I got up and had breakfast. I had some cereal. We had like half a dozen boxes of cereal in the pantry, and I just chose one randomly. And I poured a bowl, then ate it, and then I poured another bowl. I was pouring it, and I saw something that was in the box, and I reached inside the box and pulled it out. It was my check, folded up in three, like was in my wallet, and so I was very surprised. It was like an example of teleportation. Friendly spirit or something gave me back my check in a side of cereal box. And then a couple nights later, I was sleeping and I woke up. I felt a weight on my bed, and I saw there was a ghost crawling on my bed. A woman was like in her mid-30s or whatever, short blonde hair, pretty, black pants and blouse. And funny thing is, I wasn't frightened. She didn't look frightened to me, but she saw me. And when she saw me, she gave an expression of fright, and then she disappeared. She recessed from the front to the middle, then the back to the middle, recessed and disappeared. And that was basically my experiences then in Montana. Then I went home to New Mexico, and in my trailer, and first of all, before the experiences in the trailer, I'll tell you about experience I had driving my stepfather's Cadillac home from a church meeting about 11 o'clock at night. And I was the only person on the road, but all of a sudden I was about half a mile from my turnoff to the house. We live on a farm, and I saw a light in the road covering the whole road. It was like a hemisphere, half globe of light on both sides of the road, and it was very bright, but it didn't illuminate anything, which I thought was very odd. So it was about, I don't know, 30 feet wide and about 15 feet tall. So, and for some dumb reason, I drove right into it. And then all of a sudden, all I could see was a bright light inside my cab and outside, and the car wasn't running. I was just there in suspended animation in the car, and there was no noise, and that lasted a few seconds. Then all of a sudden I saw two sets of headlights go by on the left of me from cars, I guess, and then all of a sudden I was driving again. I was out of the lights when I went home. I didn't seem to mess any time though. I would like to be hypnotized, see if I remember anything. I don't know if I trust hypnotism, but I would like to know if there was anything else that went on there. It was an area where my step sister said someone saw a UFO one time. It was the same area. I don't know if there's any relationship between that and it, but in my trailer one night, I was sleeping, and I woke up at midnight, and I heard arguing outside, real loud, angry arguing by at least two voices. I thought, oh, it's my neighbors again. They're arguing. We lived out in the country, but we had our house and the trailer in the backyard. Then next door was a rental house. And anyway, I couldn't make any language of it. Because the people next door were Spanish, and I wasn't Spanish. It wasn't Navajo. Certainly wasn't English. And it sounded very strange, like it was very gruff, very rapid. And only thing I compare it to is certain noises in the Sierra Sounds. And then I was very afraid and scared, and I mustered up some courage and looked out the window of the blinds and saw three figures, big figures, like Bigfoot or whatever. Yeah, they were Bigfoot. And then I looked at it for a couple of 3 seconds, and then it was awkward looking at them because I was bending over, my head squinted up, looking at them. So I just let the blind go down, and then they kept chattering away for about 10 minutes, and then I heard a very loud owl hoot, and it was quiet. In the morning, I didn't see any signs of them being there. The ground was hard, and so there was no signs. I wish it had been muddy so I could see some prints. But in that area, it's by the San Juan River. We live by the San Juan River, and we have a wash that the water runs year round. And so we have lots of animals and stuff. And there are reports of Bigfoot around there, around the river. And also we have something called the Nappy It's Navajo Agricultural Product Incorporated. And then the gigantic agricultural project there on the mesa above us, a couple of miles above us. And people in the Navajos have seen Bigfoot there. And the funny thing is, I was watching Finding Bigfoot, and they were in New Mexico and my area, and they had a town meeting in Durango, and this guy, he was a security guard of the casino that's about 4 miles from me. He said he was opening up one morning and he saw a Bigfoot, and it ran off. And so there are reports of Bigfoots there. I worked volunteer at a museum, the Pueblo ruins that was abandoned a long time ago. But anyway, there's an archaeologist in Navajo, and he lives in Fruitland, New Mexico, along the river, just west of where I live. And he said his wife saw Bigfoot on their property by their corral, and he had a picture on his phone of a print, a very good print, and people. And then I've heard on Facebook a woman say that a cop deputy had seen a Bigfoot crossing the highway there one morning. It was, I don't know how she got that information, but that's what she saw. And then one night I was in my trailer, and I woke up. It was 1:30 in the morning, and I thought that I wanted to wake up at 3 o'clock and watch the TV show Angel, because I have strange sleeping habits. I wake up at night and watch shows late at night, oftentimes, mainly Westerns, but I was watching Angel then. So I just muttered, I want to wake up at 3 o'clock. And then I didn't go back to bed to sleep. I just laid there, and all of a sudden the room spun around about 3 or 4 times there, 3 seconds. Then the digital clock said 3:04. So it went from 1:30 to 3:04 in 3 or 4 seconds. I got up and went to the dining room area where the TV was and turned it on, and the Angel was on. I missed 4 minutes of it. They were off by 4 minutes. But so that was unusual. And then my microwave went crazy. And one night I got up, and the digital readout kept reading 333. It was going across the screen. And then I opened it up, the door, and then all of a sudden there's a loud explosion inside of it. It had blown up and didn't work anymore. And on the farm, we had strange things happening, like there's kind of a head scratcher. One day we saw a bunch of shovel scrapes on the road by the barn. Didn't find any footprints, just a bunch of shovel scrapes. They're about 15 feet wide and 20 feet long, and shovel scrapes. I don't know where they got the shovel or whatever, but it was sort of imitation of my stepdad and I were, the day before, were scooping out sediment out of our pond nearby. It seemed like a parody of that. And then one week in summertime, we were taking care of my stepsister's donkey on a property next door to us, and I would fill up the water trough, a big water trough with water, and the donkey would drink 3 or 4 inches every day and fill it up again. Something to do, I guess. And then one day afternoon, we came to feed it, water it or whatever, and all the water was gone out of the trough. And so I looked for a hole. There wasn't a hole in the trough, and there was no mud anywhere. It was completely dry. So I was wondering how the 50 gallons was disappeared. And I filled it up. Next day, the same thing. All the water was gone. And that happened 3 times. Then it went back to normal, where there was just 3 or 4 inches drunken out of it in the afternoon. And one day I was driving home from work down a road driveway. It goes about a half a mile across down a field to the houses that are back from the road about half a mile. And I saw children dancing in a circle by my stepfather in the field. He was on the ground. He was getting up, and they were prancing around in a circle with 5 of them. They looked like grade school sized children. And the 3 girls wore long, white, kind of close-fitting dresses, and the guys wore black pants and long sleeve shirts. And they were like going around in a circle and kicking up. They were kicking up, kind of springing up like ballet dancers. They're very eloquent. They're even more impressive than ballet dancers. I just chalked them up as fairies. That's fairies dance in a circle, but they weren't little fairies. They were grade school children fairies. And then I couldn't see them anymore because I was driving. I came up to the house and they're out of view. And it turned out my stepfather had fallen down and broke a couple of ribs. They seemed to be celebrating that. And they're having a good time, but I don't know. That was mean of them or whatever. And that's about it. It's happened around here. Yeah. So, do you have any questions?
You've had a lot of different experiences. So
Yeah. Oh, I forgot one thing. About
what's
2
up?
years about 2 years ago, I have a mini storage in Colorado, Arvada, Colorado, and I have DVDs in it. And I wish I had a DVD that was in it. The Searchers, the old cowboy movie, Western. I was just thinking about that. And then I went to sleep, and I woke up. The DVD was lying right next to me. It was an example of teleportation, I guess. So,
It's strange.
yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, that was about 2 years ago. So, things still happen. And about 6 months ago, I was watching videos on my tablet. And I noticed it was time to go watch TV, watch the World Series. And then a voice came out of my tablet and said, "Time to get up, sweetie."
Was it a male or a female voice?
Female voice.
Hmm.
Yeah. Female voice, which is real strange. I laughed.
Hmm.
I have these experiences, but they don't frighten me. And I don't think they're demonic. They just perplex me. And they're very exciting to me. And I did see a UFO once. I was riding with my mom and stepdad to church one Sunday morning, and we were going by an old abandoned refinery, and I was sitting on the driver's side looking out, and I saw a UFO pacing the car. It was like 10 feet in diameter, a globe or whatever, orange, and it was about 20 feet up, and it paced us uh, till we got to the end of the refinery, then it disappeared. That's my only UFO experience. The light of the road might have been one too. I don't know. Yeah, and I think I'm not really afraid, and I think it fascinates me all this stuff, and I just chalk it up as being playful with me. I think the paranormal is pretty playful with human beings. They they do all sorts of things. They mock religion, and they mock your credibility, and will mock your ego. Like I know lots of people that have, well, not lots, few people that have paranormal experiences, and they took it like they were chosen uh, by aliens or whatever, by the spirits as being special. And my uncle, he thought he was abducted, I guess, and he really took it to heart and said he's a chosen person, and he alienated himself from other people. He thought he was a Hopi god or whatever. He died alone, just alienated his family and friends. So I never did get too serious about my experiences. I learned not to do that. It's just wise to have a good sense of humor about it or whatever. I don't know why I was having them experiences. And like I said, I wasn't chalking it up to the devil or whatever. It was like some sort of intelligent being was teasing me or showing me or was interested in me or whatever. I don't really know. It's just perplexing. Yeah.
Basically, for me, when I hear people have all these experiences or whatever, I know I get a lot of negative comments here and there from people because I don't try and prove or disprove anybody. And
Right.
I get people leaving negative comments about, well, why didn't you question this? This doesn't make any sense. Obviously, they're making stuff up.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's not what I'm here, and that's not what I'm about. So I'm not going to try and pick apart every little thing that someone says because that's not what I do. But
Right.
when I hear people that have so many experiences, it's just like, why would someone have so many experiences? And
Yeah.
clearly there's something. If people come on here and they're being 100% honest and everything about it is 100% true, something is. I don't want to call the people like, oh, there's something special about them or anything, something like that, but like, there's some reason they're having these experiences. Now, is it because of a certain blood type? Is it because of a certain condition they have? Is it something like, there's some reason they have experiences. And I don't think anyone ever looks past that because for the most part, when people hear stuff like what you're saying or whatever, it's going to get taken as, well, this guy's making stuff up or this guy's crazy. Like, no one ever actually tries to look into the fact of what if it's all true.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's hard for me to, when I have guests or whatever, because I do get a lot of questions and I do have a lot of things. And sometimes people tell me things and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but who am I? I'm just a podcaster. I'm just a guy with a microphone. I'm the one special, so I don't know anything. So I'm not going
Yeah.
to go out there and try and question people or try and prove or disprove anything from somebody. But when you talk about all these experiences you've had throughout life and up until this point, it's gotten to the point to where it's like, what is going on that's causing these? Like, what is, and you just mentioned your uncle with abductions, and you said he kind of took it as that way. There's a lot of people in this field that they do feel that way. Like they think that they're special. It makes them when they alienate people, and it turns everyone off because people, for whatever strange reason, gets egos about
Yeah,
being a chosen one. I'm like, I don't.
right.
So, yeah, not to go off on a little tirade or anything about it, but it's just like I know when I have these episodes and I have people that come on here and listen and everything else, like depending on the listener, people expect you just to let people talk or they expect people to like rip them apart. It's like, I don't, that's not what I'm about. I'm not here to
Yeah,
try and rip anyone apart. But
right.
what do you honestly think? Like, I know you said you don't know, but like, have you ever contemplated like what could be the reasoning as to why you're having all these experiences?
Well, I've always been intellectually curious about things, and these experiences have stimulated my curiosity and intellect. And it's like something is trying to tell me something. I don't know what. I'll tell you something else. I have a photograph of what looks like an alien, and it just appeared in my camera in the card, memory card. I didn't take it, but it was just there. It looks like a creature with long, elongated head, and so I kind of thought, well, maybe that's something that is contacting me. Why? I don't know, but he seems interested in me. I listen to David Blias a lot and messing stories, messing personal stories, and they it seems like people are taken, they're males, and they're oftentimes intellectuals or whatever, and just wonder what's going on. So yeah, and I don't think I'm spiritually special. No, yeah, I think whatever's doing this is incredibly smart, but it seems to want to show, like, look, you think the world works this way, and it doesn't really work that way because I experience time travel and teleportation. Not me, but objects. I experience time travel by myself, an hour and a half about, and objects teleportating. And so, but a lot of people also say we're looking for a higher spiritual meaning, but I think these are physical beings, highly intelligent, and here for some reason, but I don't know why.
You mentioned like stuff earlier with like Sasquatch or Bigfoot and the activity that people had seen and the noises you heard and everything. Did you ever actually see anything though? I don't remember if you said you actually saw anything physically. I know you said you heard.
Not in Cholo, but I did hear in New Mexico. I looked out the window when I was hearing voices and saw three. Like there was one that was maybe 8 feet tall, another 7 foot tall, and one about 5 feet. And they're about 20, 25 feet away from me. It was real dark, so I couldn't make but the outlines of them. And then I just saw them for a few seconds. I was not brave enough to open up the door and look at them. So I was actually pretty frightened that night because they sounded very angry or whatever, but they could have been just saying, "How you doing?" Who knows? It was sort of like the Sierra sounds. A lot of the
Yeah. I actually recently just interviewed Ron Moorhead, who from the originator
really.
of the Sierra Sounds. Yeah.
Oh
had
yeah,
him
that's
on.
cool.
But no, when it comes to Bigfoot and everything else, like anymore, years ago when people were talking about Bigfoot, I would literally would think that there's no way anything like this could exist because we'd have found bodies by now. Why aren't they have to have a breeding population? There needs to be evidence
I
to
know.
something like this. So none of them ever made sense. And then
Oh, no.
more and more I've listened to a podcast, more and more I've watched shows and everything else. And now it's like I could, okay, well, I can see where there'd be something out there living around with just, they don't want to talk about it. But now it's almost even to the extent like it's no longer a flesh and blood thing. We've left that whole thing in the past. Now most people are wanting to go on the loose side and it's an interdimensional being.
I know. That's funny because I was always interested in Bigfoot when I was a kid, and it was just an ape man to me. Then more and more I learned about it, and it has all these powers and things, and people say that they can talk to it telepathically and stuff like that. It would disappear and go through portals or the dimensions. Or, yeah, and I have a friend. He's an astronomer at the University of Wyoming. He he's a Bigfooter too. So I tell him my stories, and he's think, why in the world would Bigfoot come up to my trailer and start speaking to me? I don't know why. He goes out on these expeditions looking for Bigfoot, and he's seen signs of Bigfoot, and also one ran past him once. But he's a scientist, so he just wonders why my experiences. I have gone out in the forest looking for it, but I never have seen anything. It just came up to my supposedly came up to my trailer in Sheldon and three here in New Mexico. So yeah, it's a very curious thing. And they seem to be associated with paranormal things too, with a lot of people say that. And there's always controversy in Bigfoot clubs. Are we going to keep it, uh, allow stuff like that to be talked about, or are we going to keep it a man-aid? So, our club, with the one I belong to, we have it both ways. Yeah.
Mhm. When it
I'm
comes
also
to,
an,
I was gonna say, when it comes to Bigfoot or any type of cryptid or anything, honestly, paranormal, alien, whatever, there are no experts. And I get
well,
so annoyed by people that want to come out there saying that this is how it is because really, because there's no physical proof that anyone can prove to anybody that these things are even real. So how can you sit there and call yourself an expert?
I know it's funny. They do that. It's their ego. So that's ridiculous.
When I
I
hear
mean,
someone call themselves an expert, and I've told this to other people too, I was like, when someone says that, hey, I'm an expert in this field or whatever, or like you might be an expert in a certain field, but you cannot say you're an expert on a specific type of creature, UFO, alien, anything like that, because there's no such thing as experts on something that, again, has no scientific proof to exist. Like
yeah,
you're an expert in your own opinions. That's basically it.
I mean, you can call yourself researcher, but that's even stretching it because the experiences happen to you mainly more than you make them happen. You just by luck or circumstance come across these creatures, and sometimes you put yourself in a position where you can come in contact with them. But there's people that look for them for years and never seen anything, and then there's people that see them all the time.
Hmm. There's people that
Yeah.
supposedly go out now all the time, and for whatever reason, they end up having encounters. And then you have people that search for these things for years upon years, and they don't get anything.
Yeah, I
So
know. It don't
that's
make
where that's my other struggle from my perspective. Because again, I always try and keep things. I've said it so many times. I'm very skeptical to a lot of things. So I try and write everything off
yeah,
that I can logically until I can't write it off anymore. And then I'm like, okay, I'm open to accepting that it's something different. And I think
right.
everyone should be that way. But
Yeah. Well, I was a philosophy major in college, so I know all about skepticism and stuff. And I always been interested in science, and I would rather have a great scientific discovery than see a bunch of aliens and Bigfoot, actually. So,
right. No, but for
but
me, it's like when someone says they keep seeing Bigfoot and they keep doing all these things and they keep going out there and they had these encounters with Bigfoot, but then they don't have proof of it. And then when you ask, well, how come you didn't get any photos? Well, they know that they can know what you're doing with your phone. They know what that is. Oh, you can't put a
yeah,
game trail up there
right.
because they know what that is. Okay, well, how do they know what all this stuff is? People
Yeah,
say they have Sasquatch that comes up to their houses all the time. Some people I've heard on other podcasts, they bring their children up there, like their Sasquatch kids running around the back.
yeah,
No one can
exactly.
prove any of that because, oh, we can't take photos of that. Well, why?
Yeah. Yeah, they're supposed to be very smart, but why they run in front of cars all the time like a dumb deer or whatever?
There's just there's so many things out there that it's really hard to buy into. Someone like, do I believe there's something out there? 100%, I believe there is something strange out there, but
Yeah,
I can't 100% back up everything that someone says because, again, when you have people that say, I don't know what the guy's name is, but he literally has recordings and he says that the recordings and he translates his to that Sasquatch talk about Trump being their president and that's who they would vote for. I was like, what?
yeah, really. That's
I was like,
pretty out there.
when you're posting stuff online like this and people buy into it, I'm like, how can people honestly take all this stuff seriously? All that does to me is put a bad taste in anyone's mouth that's already on the
Yeah,
skeptical side because when you hear stuff like that, you're going like, well, these people really are crazy. So,
yeah,
like, again, all it does is harm the communities. And then there's so much infighting and everything between each community and this and that. Like, I don't know. It becomes a shit show.
yeah, yeah. I've heard that from a lot of people that Bigfoot community, quote, community is very dysfunctional. It's just people just see it their way and they get all bent out of shape if you don't see it their way and stuff like that. How would they know? Like you say, there's no expert. So
Mm-hmm. No, it's
yeah,
just people have their opinions and they've done their research, and I'm happy that someone's out there doing it all. But until there's physical proof of something, like everyone
yeah,
can do everything that they want. You're never going to change the common person's stance on these strange topics with your
no,
theories.
no way, no. And scientists they just see them as fairies, and the same league as fairies and unicorns, and
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot. So, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Those who are too skeptical, I'm kind of don't agree with that. But people that are credulous, they'll just believe anything. That just gets me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
No,
so
I am very skeptical to an extent, but I'm also open-minded because anymore when I hear things, I'm like, well, it wouldn't surprise me. like, like
yeah,
of all the weird things that go on anymore, nothing shocks me at this point. Like again, I still try and take the stance of until it can be proven. I'm not going to dive in there and say you're 100% correct. But like when there's a lot of weird
yeah,
things that go on in the world today, it's just like, okay, well, it makes sense to me, 100%.
yeah,
So anyone that
yeah,
ever comes on my show, like I've said before, I'm not going to say that I believe them, I don't believe them, because that's not really what the show's about. It's literally I'm giving a platform for everyone to come on here and talk about it. So,
yeah. That's great that you do that. Yeah, yeah. I talked to one woman about my experiences. She believed in the ghost one, but she didn't believe in the check in the cereal box story. That was too far out for her. So yeah.
now
Well, then my
every everyone has their limits, I guess.
yeah, what's believable. And you know, ghosts are dead or whatever. You don't.
My personal opinion is I don't think that spirits that are around here are the spirits of dead people. It might be
Yeah,
their energies or whatever, but I don't think ghosts are just haunting. I think there might be residual energies or whatever, but I don't think a spirit's just haunting around, screwing around with people. I think there's what
yeah,
I've said before is I think ghosts are from a different plane of existence, like a different reality, a different dimension or something, and they kind of just bleed into our world.
right.
But
Yeah,
I'm not an expert, so I'm not telling anyone that's what it is because I don't have a clue. That's just my own opinion, and my opinion means nothing.
right. Yeah, I'm also an author. I've written a book and I just got it published.
All right, what's your book called?
Heroic Again. It's a series of, you know what aphorisms are?
No,
They're just,
I
they're
don't.
just short philosophical statements. It's just 500 pages long, but it's just short statements, and it deals with all sorts of things from political, social, my autobiographical and stuff.
Hmm.
People thought it's a very good book, so I hope it is.
Where can for anyone out
It's
there
on
listening, where can they find your book at?
Amazon. It's on Kindle and paperback
Okay.
in the
Well,
Amazon.
if you
Heroic
want
Again.
to send me a link to it, I can include all that in the show notes for you.
Okay, I'll try that then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, is there anything else you'd like to discuss, or you want to wrap
Oh,
this one up?
I guess no. We had a pretty good discussion. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I definitely appreciate having you on here tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. I don't know how you found out about me, but I'm glad you did.
I think you actually reached out to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Maybe so.
you reached out to me over on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, on Facebook.
That's how
Yeah.
everyone has been contacting me lately is either through email, but a lot of them since I made that Brandon Tinfoil Tales Facebook account, everyone's been contacting me on there.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that was what it was.
I made a post a while back, a couple months ago about gonna be doing some scheduling or whatever, and I had like almost 60 people reach out to me, so I got booked up really quickly, but you were one of the ones I think that reached out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah. You
well
won an award, didn't you? A little while ago.
oh yeah, I won best paranormal podcast and best artwork for podcast at the PopCon Awards.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
usually win anything. I don't really talk about it because I don't want to, I'm not that guy. But
No. Yeah.
no, it
I
was,
say that you don't seem to be bragging about it.
no, I try and keep everything level headed. Cool things happen. I'm like, that's awesome. I might share it on Facebook or whatever, but I don't go around like throwing it in everyone's face because it's not what I
Yeah.
do. And the only reason I even said anything on Facebook, to be 100% honest, was to kind of troll people because I've had a lot of negativity when people out there too. So instead of
Really.
getting upset about it, I just be like, look, sometimes I like to poke that proverbial finger at somebody.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I could see that dealing with the public. Yeah. So,
When you start dealing with stuff out in the public, there's always going to be detractors and always going to be haters and always going to be someone having something to say. And it comes with the territory. I used to do music for 20 years, so I'm used to having haters, so it doesn't bother me. It's
oh,
just
really? Oh, yeah. Wow.
so.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yep. Well, Stephen, again, it's been my pleasure here having you on here tonight talking with me.
Yeah. It's been my pleasure too. I,
And if anything ever happens again, reach out and get something set up. But again, I will include whatever information you send me in the show notes for anyone out there listening. If you want to check out Stephen's book, it'll be all in there for you. But
sounds good.
I think now we're going to head on out. So again, thanks to Stephen and thanks for everyone out there listening. Good night. And that's the show, everyone. I really hope you guys enjoyed the conversations. If you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to the contact section of tinfoiltales.com. Just get your message to me. We'll get something scheduled for a future episode. And just remember, the truth lies in the stories we share, the connections we make. Stay curious, stay open-minded. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep exploring the unknown. Good night, everyone.
Tinfoil Tales in the headphones. Yeah, it's time to rock. Got a story about a cryptid creature. Let's take a walk. Bigfoot, dogman, they're out there in the dark. But the truth is out there like an alien spark. UFO sightings got the whole world shook. Conspiracies unfold like a story in a book. Media control, trying to keep us blind. Oh, before gonna use my own mind. In history, they don't want us to know the secrets they're hiding, the truth they won't show. Domain of society, they keep us in chains. But I'm standing tall, it's time to break the reins. Lose control, trying to keep us blind. But I won't be fooled, gonna use my own mind. In history, they don't want us to know